Look out. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to It is Tuesday night. It is our Spork of Ice and Fire stream. I am Scott, or others may call me the Spork of the morning. With me tonight, we have Grant, Mr. Grant Gregory / Sporking, and the amazing Stig Kenobi. Haven't had him on for a little bit, so I'm so happy to have him back. How are you, Stig?
Quite well.
Good.
My
Good.
hatred levels are at a steady low 80%.
Well, I'm good. I'm glad to hear that. We're going to talk about a couple things tonight. And one of them is random content creators, not random. I mean, well-known content creators, websites, always striving for this idea that there's going to be a season 9 of Game of Thrones. Just the idea is dumb. Okay. I'm going to say that first of all, right out the rip. Yeah. It's dumb idea to have, but we are going to play around with it.
It's like farting in your bathtub and laughing your ass off, kind of dumb.
Right. It's like Meg and Stewie in the bathtub, and one of them doesn't fart. They do something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I'll explain to you later. But you know, the article, I'm not trying to rip on them. I'm not coming at them. It's just the article I saw most recent from, I believe it was February 17th. They wrote this. So it was one of those things where it's like, okay, enough's enough. Like, I don't care anymore. But yeah, screenrant, Game of Thrones season 9 confirming the wildest theory about King Bran Stark might be the best way to continue the show. No one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Continue with the plot hole.
Yeah. Yeah. Come in with a plot hole. Perfect. Because you know what? Whoever has the best story should rule Westeros, right?
You know, I've been thinking about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And how people who have very strong reactions to a positive scene or a negative scene,
mm-hmm.
Even though they don't understand the why of it, right?
Right.
People are ruled by emotions, and when people got pissed about season 9, it was because they got the ending they didn't want.
Right.
And that's what caused their rage, right? But
right.
They had no problems with bigger plot holes in season 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there's no intellectual, process happening. It's simply emotional. Same with, Rogue One. Everyone cheered for the Vader scene, even though it's an enormous plot hole.
Right.
It actually retroactively screws up the OT.
Right.
But, emotional reaction, that's all it takes these days.
It is fandom, and you will have, I think what it is there's more than just some people taking it too far emotionally both ways. It's like there was a small majority that stayed like pretty level-headed, and the rest either went, this is so amazing. If you hate it, you're evil, or that was the worst well, really, that's not overreacting. It was a dumpster fire. I mean, it was terrible. Pick any character and I could explain how terrible it was for them. But,
Braun.
They didn't have him enough in season 8. That's it. Braun was amazing. Yeah, look at Mike Does says I stopped watching around season 3. Look, up until season 4, near the end of that season, there's a couple little things. Season 5, season 6, a little bit of a rebound. 7 and 8 were terrible. Like the idea that
season 6 was that when they had Hardhome, where when the wildlings suddenly had a town, even though they've said for the whole season that they don't build villages.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Hardhome in the book is like a kind of like a woods witch brings together people, but it's not like a set settlement that has like a fishing community.
No, they tried to build a town there, and then volcanic, volcanic eruption happened.
Yeah, there was the
And
the ash and the mudslide.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they
Yeah.
could
Volcanic.
they
Yeah.
could see the light
Mhm.
in the sky from the wall when
Yep.
it happened. So it was basically Children of the Forest did it.
Yeah.
Very
I don't
obvious.
doubt that. I don't doubt that.
Bastards.
Well, if you look at where Hearthome is on a map, so you got the Arm of Dorn, and then you go up to the neck, and it's almost like the same, not the same exact distance, but it is at the top of the continent. So you got the bottom, mid, top of the continent. They do something, a massive sacrifice to do a magical spell and a thingamabobber. And each time it gets a little weaker. I mean, you break the Armadorn, a landmass. That's pretty impressive. You create the neck, which is just bogs and marshes and swamps to divide the continent. Pretty impressive. And then Hearthome, you just some mudslides and volcanic ash. It is.
And Valyria first, probably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. True. That is very true. Them with the help, I think they helped the Faceless Men, but we could always get into that later. I want to really quickly say hello to the chat. We have Mike Does. We got a lot of channel members last week. A lot of people. Mr. Grant Gregory gifted 25. What was it? 24, 25 memberships, which was awesome. I hit the wrong button. Sorry about that, Grant. I totally was trying to give you props. And then I gifted 10. Jane gifted us some. So we're up to 57 channel members. So thank you. So Mike's a channel member. We have Brian here. Katina is here. Mark, it's so good to see you like week in and week out lately in the chat, man. And all we need now is like Eric K. I saw Lord Toth at the top, some OGs. So thank you for being here, man. It means a lot to me. Katina Martin too, who never gets notifications. So thank you for being here and reaching out, asking when my shows are, which we did start a little early tonight. We also have Fast 50S91, probably the I don't know, smartest, most intelligent person in the chat. Good to see you. And then there was a couple other people like Lord Toth and some other people coming in as we are speaking. But thank you guys for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. If you're new here, please subscribe. If you have been here, and just double check and make sure you're subscribed and like, so it helps whatever algorithm YouTube has. I'm sorry, I had to do all that. Okay. Yeah. The idea that I don't even know where I was going with my thing until we started talking about Hearthome, but this idea that they could do a season 9. Okay. So I sat down and I thought about it. Okay. Pros. How could they get this done? So I'll start with one. They killed a good amount of the higher paid characters in season 8. You still have 2 of the highest paid, which is John, Kit Harington, and the hater of dwarfs, Mr. What is his real name?
Shrinkleach.
Yes. They're pretty high paid, but you have them. But other than that, Bran, the actress for Sansa, who is Sansa's actress. Anyone?
Sophie Turner.
Freddie McRedhead,
brother.
Ex-Miss Jonas brother, sister, whatever it is.
Oh, they broke off?
Yeah, they broke up.
Partying, I bet. She partied too hard, I bet. Because he's like a god-fearing.
Yeah, she's back in England.
Oh Lord. Well, Sophie Turner, like a lot of them, including Jon Snow, they never got, well, they got opportunities because of Game of Thrones, but they never springboarded off of that. So I could see some of them being willing in a couple of years to do maybe like a Game of Thrones after movie. But let's think about that movie. Let's think about like the King.
Winter's still coming, so they should all be buried in snow, and they have no food because they didn't prepare for it. So everyone
they
should
didn't
be dead
prepare at all.
Like a few months after the show ended.
Yeah. Winter is coming.
Jon Snow is north, and he's part of the Night's Watch again, whose duty is to keep watch for the White Walkers, which are now gone. So the Night Watch serves no purpose, yet they sent them there.
Yeah, they're still getting government funding, and you need to get Elon down there with Doge to get rid of all that crap.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you need like a Elon. Who would be the Elon character in Game of Thrones that's still alive? That's a tough one.
Still alive? Oh,
yeah.
Ilios.
You never know. You need somebody who's really
Tyrion?
smart and good with numbers.
Tyrion?
Tyrion, yeah. I mean, he did damn good as when he was hand balancing the budget, finding out where the money was, going and all that. So he would do a fine job. And he was on the King's Council at the end of that season 8 finale. But let's think about, like the king. You guys made a king who for like almost 2 seasons, I'm sorry, looked severely like retarded, maybe because he's like staring off into space, talking about different ages. I'll be back. I got to go somewhere. And he just, like, how is that a king? Like, that's not a king.
Yeah, and just listen to me. I have a stick.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
right. Absolutely. Like, I'm gonna go fly. I'm gonna go be in the birds for a while. You guys take care of this stuff. Like, he's worse than Robert, hands off king.
Yeah, at least Robert was continuing his line.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, he worked hard at that. Legitimately, no, but he did have a bunch of bastards. But, like the story. So you have Jon Snow who saved the world and was the rightful heir after the death of Dany, getting sent north. And like, we're all supposed to think he really wants that. You also have, for some reason, Grey Worm having all this power because one episode, all the Dothraki and Unsullied die, and the next episode, there's masses of them.
They got better.
I got better. It's
What's
weird.
Still a big plot hole.
Mm.
When Daenerys lost her fleet and they had to like swim ashore on Dragonstone,
Right?
And then in the next episode, they're outside King's Landing with the army. How did they get from Dragonstone to King's Landing without any ships? Because all of them got sunk.
She dragged them all, like, hold on to this rope, and did a couple trips maybe. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Like, just the idea that you want a season 9, and I think you put it perfectly, Stig, is a lot of these people won't admit season 8 was an utter disaster. Still, there are people that like just don't want to be in the bad, like they're content creators that don't want HBO mad at them or Dan and Dave or George Martin. So they just, even though George Martin hated it.
How anyone can say that it was good. I've never heard YouTubers say that it was good. Like,
no, but they don't destroy it. There are YouTubers that will not actually destroy it. Like, it's worthy of being destroyed. I think. If you agree, let me know in the chat.
The problem started with season 5 when they wrecked the Stannis story and which also wrecked the Theon and Sansa and Brienne story,
right?
By association, right? And
right.
And they basically, what they did, it was probably to cut the budget. They got rid of Stannis and they didn't put Aegon in there, so they merged Jon Snow with Stannis and Aegon. Because Jon Snow went around and did what Stannis did, collecting armies in the north and stuff.
But the problem is that they had an open checkbook at that point. Like, it was just, they wanted to get out of there to do their Star Wars movie, which I can't wait for the first trailer. If we ever get it. They wanted to do their Star Wars movie and they were too arrogant, mostly Benioff, too arrogant to pass the baton to somebody who was hungry to prove themselves. You have the writer of A Song of Ice and Fire literally posting on Twitter at the time about a different series on the night of the finale, during the finale. I mean, it was just anything that you could say positive about it. I don't know. Like, Warlord of Queens says, meh, at best. Even that I find to be hard, but I can understand why some people would say, okay. But like, the long after or the long evening instead episode where, you see Brienne up against the wall with surrounded by whites. And then the next scene, they don't show you her fighting. You just
cut
think
away,
she's
quick,
gonna die.
cut
And
away.
then
You don't have
she's-
to show them. They're surviving. Like you literally saw Sam on the ground with someone
Yes.
driving a knife into him. There
Yeah.
was 5 of them on top of him. The next scene, he's standing up, running away.
Yeah. And that was all like
Yeah.
Brian says here, every season after John was stabbed and died, that was D&D fiction. It actually happened a little bit before that on some of the plot lines. What were you going to say, Stig?
Well, even the Jon Snow stabbing made no sense in the show because they escaped Hardhome on ships, right?
Right.
And
Right.
then for some reason, the ships put them ashore north of the wall instead of just sailing
those
for
northern
2.
tides.
Yeah, instead of just sailing for 2 more minutes and put them,
Yeah.
ashore south of the wall. And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, let us through the wall, please. And Alistair Thorne is like, nah, okay, I'll let you through.
Yeah.
And then they stabbed Jon Snow for letting them through. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it was Alistair
Holy
Thorne who
shit.
let them through.
I am like honored for you to be watching right now, man. Red Team Review says probably because HBO has moved on from Game of Thrones and is focusing on its spinoffs. Sounds like clickbait from Screen Rant. I completely agree. And I'll be honest, I think I knew it, and it just gave me a like one of those like sparks of holy crap, I forgot how much I hated season 8. So I can vent a little bit. So you're right. And I don't agree. Like I love watching your guys' live streams on Preston's channel, and I don't agree with you guys always, but I respect how you guys see it. Like I didn't like season 2 of House of the Dragon. I thought it was a big drop off from season 1. But
Every
I'll
change
still
has a
watch.
ripple.
Right.
Yeah, there's like 10 ripple effects per change given the massive cast. So if you do this, then those 10 things can't happen, and then you eventually run into a huge mess. And with House of the Dragon tying itself to the main Game of Thrones show in episode 1, when they brought up the dagger,
right,
you ended up with all roads lead to Jake Skywalker.
Right, all roads lead to Jake Skywalker.
With season 9, they can finally introduce young Griffin. Why not?
Yeah,
maybe Lady Stoneheart can come in season 9.
I mean, my biggest issue with season 2 was, and we've said it, we were saying it during the reviews of season 2 House of the Dragon and after, it seemed like there were different writers for the odd episodes and different writers for the even episodes, and they were not allowed to talk to each other because a character would do something so counter what their growth or their journey in that odd episode, they would do the exact opposite in the even episode and then go back. It was just a weird, and then leaving out the heir, the spare, the heir and the spare.
Oh, Maegor the missing.
Yeah, Maegor the missing. A lot of people are like, that wasn't a big deal. Huh?
It was
it's a huge deal.
The biggest deal. It
Nettles
legitimately changes the line of succession.
Yeah, it does. It changes the line of succession from Aemon, who protected his brother when he got injured, to Aemon trying to take his brother's position. Like he's Aemon, even in like a textbook book that is Fire and Blood, you saw the dual, he protected the ones he loved, and he was vicious to the ones he hated, or even respected like his uncle. But it was one of those things where you took away that the integral part of him, the family, like it was his brother. He protected him. Even though it was almost like a Aemon the Dragon Knight in a way, but not as chivalrous. I always say that word wrong. Like chivalrous? Because he was in the Kingsguard. Yeah, and Aemon isn't, but Aemon felt that he probably could have been a better king, better husband, but he still protected his brother's. Yeah, he protected his brother's throne. So, yeah, it's awesome. Thank you so much for stopping in, man. Check out the old blurbs from the books from, I caught one of your guys. I'm sorry, let me finish that. Books from the 2000s, season 7, 8 were George's old ideas that Dave and Dan adapted. I haven't seen that. I did see one of your earlier ones with Preston talking about Game of Thrones, and then I think um Storm of Swords. But that's everything they got out of it. Was it the what library? I forget the library. But yeah, we did one about the Game of Thrones book. And it is interesting. They took his old ideas, but I wonder if Dan and Dave really thought about, oh, he left this out for a reason. You know, he went a
Yeah,
different
and
route for a reason.
I mean, hell, you know, everything Jamie after season 4
Mhm.
is nowhere near what the story is in the books.
Right.
You know, and same
Right.
with Brienne. I mean, that they left out Lady Stoneheart. I'm sure she will affect the story somehow, right?
Right. Right. I mean, leaving out Stoneheart, because I feel like when we do, I still believe we are getting the Winds of Winter, either this year or next. I've been saying that for many years, but I'm holding on strong. I feel like the Winds of Winter, we are going to find more out about Stoneheart and what her intention really is. Will she, because whatever, that Fire White is focused on when they die, usually is what they are, driven by in their Fire White form. You have, Beric Dondarrion, who was there to protect the small folk of the Riverlands from the Lannisters and the Mountain, and he is still doing that hardcore as a Fire White. She
Well,
was
the last thing she saw before she died was herself killing a Frey,
right.
and also Rob dying.
Rob dying, the Bolt, and the Bolton betrayal, like all of that, I would say is involved in that. And right before it, right? If I'm remembering the chapters correctly, a couple chapters before it, maybe it's a little earlier, Rob makes his mother accept his will.
Yeah, well,
Now,
he essentially tricks her.
yeah, and we've talked about this. We believe she got tricked. It's not John. It's he used John so she would accept whoever he decided on. Now it could be we're completely wrong on that, and maybe it was her, but she has that iron crown, the King of the North crown, and either she is going to go north to crown somebody or to take that crown and put it through somebody. I don't know. I'm wondering about that.
Yeah, and she's also looking for the will itself, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, which would be in the neck.
I bet you she smells too.
Do you think, I know we're going completely off what we were going to talk about, but we all understand season 9 is not happening. Just because Sophie Turner, a few months ago was like, I would be kind of into it if everybody else came back. But do you think we will get Howland Reed at the end of the Winds of Winter, or will he even like maybe just introduce him like one of the last chapters, and then we get all that info dump in if we ever did get a Dream of Spring?
I think we'll get Howland Reed, but not in the way we think, or because
Right.
we have to look at which characters are close to him, right?
Right.
And
One of those
I'm
characters.
thinking Lady Stoneheart with Brienne and Jamie are just south of him,
Yes.
right? And I guess, but if Stannis wins or whatever, he will be going south through the neck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we could have Theon, who is
Oh God.
kind of a little bit involved with the whole green site stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and that might fit with Howland Reed and all that, and they're both tied to the Starks.
Yep.
So maybe
And
Howland Reed can give Theon a chance at redemption. I don't know.
right.
But those are the
I mean,
characters that
he's
are
on that
around.
path, right? He's on that
Yeah.
path of redemption.
Yeah.
ever since he decided to save Jane Poole. So,
Yeah.
you know, he's taking his name back. You know, I'm not Reek, I'm Theon, you know, hanging from a
Yeah.
wall in the excerpt. But also, and one of our theories, and it's not the strongest theory we've had, but one of our theories is um, Lady Dane living in the neck. You
Yeah.
also have Glover, right? Glover and Mage Mormont in the neck. Um, and they were present at the will signing and were given the copies to bring. So there could be a lot of things going on there. And that's an interesting story. Like if they were willing to introduce, well, see, the show's over. They beat the others and
Like he's introduced 6 years
Fran,
after it's finished.
what's that?
You're saying if they introduce this 6
Yeah,
years after
yeah.
the show is
It's
finished, right?
it's kind of wrong. I wish they introduced it season 7.
Why would you introduce something on the 9th season of a series once it comes back? Like
Well,
it'll have to be
it's
a
even way
spin-off.
past
That's
that
the
though.
way it would work. It
Well,
could never be.
the only way it could work is that, you know, you have Sansa as the Queen of the North, and now this will of her brothers, who was the rightful king, names somebody else. What happens? That's
with
the Jon
Sansa,
Snow.
Sansa would not even honor that.
The Jon
Because
Snow
it's a new
spin-off.
deal. No, but that's the thing. Like her deal was for the heir of Winterfell. The deal
I
that
got
she
that.
made was with the Queen to be the ruler. It's a
Right.
completely separate thing.
And I get
The
that.
Lord Eddard Stark is not the person who is the Queen or the King.
But wait a minute. No, she is the queen out of Winterfell. Her seat is Winterfell. So you tell me men
Yes,
in the
but she's
north.
outside now
Okay,
because she was named by the rightful Queen. She was legalized and
the
legitimized
rightful king.
by the rightful Queen.
Who?
There is no rightful queen at this point.
No. Sansa was legitimized by her brother.
No, I'm saying in the show. I'm talking about in the show.
The show, yeah, her brother Bran.
Yeah.
She was like, the North's going to stay independent. He's like, all
Oh,
right.
sorry, Brent. I'm not saying Queen. Yeah, King. Sorry.
Yeah, king.
Yeah.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but that shouldn't. If the North sees themselves as something different, and if their young wolf, who was betrayed and murdered by those Freys and those Boltons, all of a sudden his will comes out, and he said no. The king, the next one is a king. We'll say a king. Let's just say it's Jon Snow. This could be the Jon Snow spinoff. We find out it's Jon Snow. Well, now there's Jon's the reluctant, you know, I don't want to be king. And he gets in, and Sansa's never loved Jon. It's her half brother. Boom. We got a war. That could be
but
the Jon
don't.
Snow
That's the thing,
spinoff.
because the Norsemen aren't going. They've all just sworn fealty to Sansa. We all saw at the end of it. They all
I know what you're
bound.
saying.
So they're
Yep.
not going to go back on their word from that.
But they also bent the knee to Robb Stark, and his will would supersede that, I think, in some of their minds. And let's just say she favors some houses more than others. They're going to use that. There are still people in the North that want to their house to rise up even higher in the Northern rankings. You could, in effect, get certain houses to back that. I mean, look at.
Well, okay, the Karstarks. I could see them
Karstarks,
going 100% with Sansa, because they're not gonna go with the will of the guy that killed their lord.
What about the Umbers, May? Because they were huge supporters of Robb. Died.
Whatever side the Karstarks on the Umbers are going to be on the opposite.
Yeah, that's true on that. I mean, even in the books, you got the Manderleys trying to get. Oh, you could throw that in too. Oh no, Rickon died. That's right. He didn't zig and zag. I just wanted to read this quick. Listless Receptionist says, I started reading the books again after like 15 years. First book is frustrating reading. And then she adds, to clarify, it's mostly that Ned was given about 150 different offers to change things, and he didn't. That's why is honor a sin? And we kind of talked about that in our Ned Stark series stream. Link will be somewhere up here after the show. But you know, Ned, his honor was kind of prideful in a way, I think. Like he prided himself on being honorable, And I think it was to a fault. But the biggest reason was it wasn't Ned. I mean, blame everything on Catelyn. That will be linked up here too. Cat did nothing he told her to do to prepare for war. Ned is not a politician. Ned does not belong in the South playing the Game of Thrones. He was preparing for his wife to get his bannermen to Winterfell, shore up the neck, or Kate Mullen, what's that? The castle on the neck where,
Nolan,
yeah, right. 200 archers can hold it from an army. Keep Theon close. If she did everything,
Kaelin.
Kaelin, thank you. If she did everything he told her to do and didn't take Tyrion, he would have gotten what he needed done and he would have been heading north already before. I really believe he wouldn't have given out the evidence of this is what happened, and then also Robert being too drunk and getting skewered by a boar. It kind of screwed him up. But when I reread it, I finally saw that, because I can completely agree with you. For a very long time, when it came to Ned, I used to get so angry with him, and I still do in certain situations, like telling Cersei. That was dumb. What do you guys think with Ned?
Ned's dead. Doesn't matter.
Thanks. That makes a great conversation on a stream. You're doing better than I am. Got the books and still have not read them. Yeah, Katina, you'll get there. You'll get there.
Well, I mean, we've gone through ad nauseum about every mistake. Like, literally, I don't think Ned could have screwed up worse in any scenario.
But the catalyst of that, the catalyst is Cat. She forced his hand and he went faster. He wasn't prepared for Jaime's ambush and getting stabbed through the leg. Like, there's a lot of things that he did wrong, but I really believe if she didn't force him to act so quickly, and given him the opportunity to get his daughters out of there, I think things would have turned out at least a little different. I think he still would have been caught, because he might have sent the girls and stayed to get Robert to, boot the bastards out. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So season 9, not going to happen. Let me just see what they have to say real quick. I love this. If Game of Thrones season 9 happens, HBO can end up using one of the biggest.
Go up and see if James wrote this.
I think it is, actually. Yeah, James Hunt.
Fucking, I knew it.
It's every time, right? The theories about. I want to see what his. But I want to see his biggest theory about King Bran. Bran becomes king in Game of Thrones ending was a big reason as to why the final faced a huge backlash after almost a decade of speculating as to who would be the king or queen. In the end, that it was Bran was not only a major shocker, but a letdown to many viewers. A letdown, dude. He was a tree person. Like, the guy couldn't communicate with people. It was, how could he be king? He's being warged by every dead greenseer before him. The problem with King Bran is not so much the choice, but the execution. Okay. Which is true of Game of Thrones season 8 entirely. There wasn't enough setup nor explanation of his three-eyed raven identity. However, the idea of Bran as king does have some merit. He brings things full circle. He's the first major character we met in both books and show. Okay. And Austin, what's that word? Ostensibly. I am a bad reader. Sorry, everybody. He's someone who doesn't want power while also being able to learn from past mistakes. That raises an intriguing possibility and could play into the theory of HBO ever making Game of Thrones season 8 or season 9. Let's even pretend making a movie, just a movie, 2-hour movie.
You know what though?
Yeah.
You know, the Bran becoming king thing.
Yeah.
Sure, it's possible, but if you look at what's actually happening to Bran in the books,
yes,
it's very close to downright demonic possession.
Yes. Think about it. They chose him and he starts, they chose him for a reason, and he starts on his journey north to meet the so-called three-eyed raven, or the other guy, Brandon Rivers. Brendan Rivers. He has two personalities, I believe. One is his, one is the great other using him. But anyways, he breaks two of the three cardinal rules of warging. You don't warg a human.
Yeah.
He wargs Hodor. You don't eat the flesh of men, and I believe he does.
Well, he ate his mate.
Which one?
Well, he didn't it twice. Didn't he do it when he walked into the
Summer?
dog?
Yeah, into Summer. I want to say he
And
was
then he also ate Gendry.
not Gendry. Gendry's still alive. I can't remember who it is, but I know he's feeding so much as Summer, he has to be reminded to come out and eat as a human because he'll waste away. I do remember that.
And it also happens in the very book where we get the Boromir Sixskins chapters. So
right,
the reader is being warned, hey, if you do this and this and this as a warg,
right,
not good. It's really bad. And
really
Bran just does it casually.
Yes, without knowing these, he automatically goes and does 2 out of the 3. Like, and not as a child, he doesn't see anything wrong with it. Like when they talk about how Hodor used to fight, but now he just goes and cowers in a corner of his mind. That is so sad.
Yeah,
like so sad.
Because he does it by force to Hodor, which is a form of grape. You know?
Yeah. Truly, we'll come back to the you right here because those are good.
You know what I think he's going to do? When he's warging into Hodor, he's going to use Hodor's body to lose his virginity.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah, it'll be dark as hell, but it fits.
Yeah.
And
I won't. Hodor's huge.
Well, and poor Mira is right there.
That's exactly, dude. I was thinking the same thing. Like we get told by Osha or Asha, whichever one is the wildling. He's a big man, right? He doesn't think anything like that, but Bran wanting to experience life as somebody who can still use anything below his waist. I could see that happening. Now he is only 11, or even younger than that in the books. So I don't know, how that'll come about. Maybe because he's in Hodor and he's older, he'll get urges. I don't know. But I thought that.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We don't know about any sort of chemical hormones. Like, we know when he's in the wolves, he has the hunger like a wolf and anything like that. But maybe Hodor is just like a repented up,
Yeah. Did Summer ever go to town on any of the other wolves that he meets?
No.
Okay, but we are given Varamir Sixskins, like George always does, the prologue and the epilogue. They are very important, and that one is huge, telling us about what not to do as a warg and how you can't come back from that. And I think the Three-Eyed Raven chose Bran because he was young and naive.
Say that again? Jon Snow when Jon Snow talks to Varamir Sixskins before Stannis shows up or whatever. Sixskins tells Jon that any animal that has been warged into before can be used easily by other wargs.
Yes.
So Hodor. Someone can warg into Hodor.
Oh my God. Yeah, the way he cowers now and just lets it happen.
Yeah.
Somebody else can step him on.
Yeah. And when Jon Snow doesn't sense Ghost?
Right.
In a few of the chapters?
Right.
That's because someone's using Ghost.
Yeah, because Ghost does come to do peculiar things that drives the story along. You know what I mean? Like the things
and maybe the reason it's easier for Jon to warg into to Ghost is because someone's already done it to Ghost.
Yeah. I mean,
So
Ghost
Ghost is on
show
easy mode for him.
right. Doesn't Ghost show him where the dragon glass and the horn is? Ghost brings back an arm when they
Yeah.
couldn't
How
find
would
dead
Ghost even
body.
know where that is? Hmm.
Right. You know, and they make you think it's because he might be on the other side of the wall that he can't connect to him, but I don't think so. But again,
Yeah.
with Bran, you got to. I'm sorry, finish that thought because it is an awesome thought.
Yeah, and Ghost has lost a lot of weight as well when he sees him next. So that means Ghost has been traveling far
Right.
and not been,
Somebody's
eating
been
and
pushing
using.
him without eating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So someone out there is using Ghost and has been for quite a while. It's crystal clear.
Right. It is rude to warg into someone else's direwolf. What is the protocol? Do you send them an email first? It actually is not considered one of the um, taboo things, but it is like you're not supposed to knock somebody out of their own animal and steal it. And we see Verimir Sixskins talking about that dude's, is it his eagle? Um, or
Yeah, the one that gets ignited.
by Melisandre. Yeah. He talks about stealing that one. Zax, what is up? Someone talked about you earlier in this thing. It was a good one
You know
too.
what else that we kind of missed? Um, you know how the wall is likely built by the children of the forest, and we're told that
Mm,
the magic in it, the actual barrier, is under the wall. It's in the foundation.
right, right.
So the ice wall is on top of it, almost like a
Mhm,
lid.
mhm,
Well, it's obvious that it's to keep the White Walkers out because the White Walkers are made of ice,
mhm.
and
Mm-hmm.
ice can't break ice, right?
Ah,
Because they have no
yeah, yeah,
fire.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's basically the perfect barrier for them because
Right,
they can't harm the ice.
right. Yeah, I mean, we do see roots when we go under the wall, which I didn't
Yeah,
notice until I think you and Grant brought it up one time. I forgot that. Like I knew the door was weirwood, but I didn't
yeah,
realize around it there was roots.
yeah.
So
Which
there's
is
runes
actually
and weirwoods.
yeah, and the roots go into the ground, which is the foundation of the wall.
Hmm.
So that's what's kind of fueling it.
Because
And
it's made from weirwood trees. That's what's
Hmm.
holding it
yeah,
up.
yeah, and the White Walkers can't get to those weirwood trees or even the foundation where the spell is, and they the wall protects it.
Hmm.
And also, when Melisandre goes into Storm's End, she has to pass through a barrier because she
Right.
can't use her magic. Something there's blocking it too,
She has to go
which tells
even
me,
below the foundation. She has to go even below it to a cave,
yeah,
right?
and then through
That's
the barrier, and yeah,
right.
but uh, because she says the magic won't work because ancient spells. That means it's the same damn magic that's in the wall,
Hmm.
which means my theory of her getting her powers from someone north of the wall
Mm.
is probably accurate because that would be a big hint, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, she's more powerful near the wall. She's able to
Yeah,
birth the shadow baby under
yeah,
another. Yeah, I mean, she may think it's the Lord of Light, but she may not know
it
she
isn't.
is actually feeding into the Great Other. I think the Great Other is a powerful being that is the three-eyed raven, is disguises himself, if not like pretending to be the Lord of Light, is actually the beginning of the idea of the Lord of Light,
Yeah,
and people's belief made their fire magic more powerful, but it's only because they believe so greatly in this Lord of Light, which is a construct of the Great Other. Like, you know what I mean? He might not be a fire element god. He might be the winter god that we all think he is, but because he brought this idea of the Lord of Light to life, these people believe in it so greatly that they can actually create magic from it. It's the idea of you tell, you keep telling somebody they can do it, they can walk over fire. I don't know.
And
Yeah,
they do
I don't
it.
know. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but it's like just putting it in their mind gave them the power, but it's their own selves doing it.
Katina in the chat is asking if ice dragons are ever talked about in any of the books. Yes.
In the very, very first book that he wrote, there was.
Well,
yeah,
that wasn't the
there's
first.
a book,
Yeah.
The Ice Dragon book. That is
Yeah, the children's book.
He's confirmed it.
Yes, he did confirm it. He confirmed, and they are much bigger than the dragons, the fire-breathing dragons. He has said that, but they're very rare to see. So we could still get one. That would be dope.
Only if you behave yourself, you can get one.
Yeah, no, it's a children's book, Listless Receptionist. It's called The Ice Dragon, right? It's not it's supposed to be a children's book, and it talks about an ice dragon, and he has confirmed that it is canon in A Song of Ice and Fire.
I also think someone raised a dragon in Winterfell when it burned down.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thank you,
sure
Zach.
as heck looks like that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what's in the crypts.
So that would be raising the dragon from the stone.
It was it was the egg from Nettle's dragon.
Not Nettles. It was a prince. And it wasn't Queen. It wasn't Queen. What's her name? It was what House of the Dragon prince that goes up there. Jake? Is it Jace or is it Luke? Jace, right? Which one gets eaten? I always screw these two up.
Luke.
Okay, so Jace's dragon, because he spends a couple times up there.
He gets eloped.
Yeah, might hook up with a Stark bastard. But his dragon was known to want to be down in the crypts. And I always wonder, how the hell does it get into the crypts? There must be another entrance we don't know about. Because we're told what the entrance to the crypts is. It's a big door, but I can't imagine a fully grown dragon being able to go through and down there without destroying the statues and stuff.
No, it came up through the the hot springs.
Yes,
that's a theory that a dragon below is actually causing the hot springs.
Yep. I love any theory out there. I love. I go to Reddit, go to the Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire Reddit, and you get some of the craziest theories, but they're good. I mean, we have crazy theories. Like no one agrees that the three-eyed raven is somebody, or three-eyed crow is somebody other than Brendan Rivers. But just look at how he and Leaf answer the question, are you the three-eyed crow? Neither one knows what the hell Brand's talking about. So
it's not what I get when I read it.
Oh, I totally do. And you do too. We could read it right now if you want. But let's see what we will. We'll see what this guy's talking about. So he's talking about dead characters. So there's no White Walkers, Dany, Cersei, Jaime, the Unsullied probably left with the Dothraki. One opinion would be to have either or both of the Iron Islands and Dorne mount a rebellion against the crown, since they have historically sought independence. It's not a perfect solution, though, since it need to come up with a reason as to why they accepted Bran Stark as king in the first place. Because mob rule, I don't know. Especially when Sansa demanded and was granted independence. I mean, that would cause, like, everybody else is like, yeah, he's the king. And she lastly's like, brother, I am not going to be part of your kingdom. I can see people being pissed about that. Yeah.
Dario Naharis, which the show forgot about.
Mm-hmm.
He is over in Eastros ruling. He might get it in his head that he wants to invade Westeros because Westeros is weak now.
Right. Excuse me really quick.
That didn't come through at all.
It didn't come through? I don't know why that's happening. But let me try this one. No. Brian McCann gifts 5 Sporking News podcast memberships. Thank you so much. So we have new members. We have, Pope Metallicus. I didn't know you were watching, sir. And Darren, like my father before me. I hope your health is good, my friend. U.S. Dutch Kitty. Good to see you. American Patriots Pad. Amen.
That's Richard.
Yep. Amen, Richard. And, oh, God. Apalipizagon. Yeah. Just became a sponsor. That is, are you like a mixture of Appalachia and Aegon?
No, it's Apocalypse Saigon.
Oh, Apocalypse Saigon. I don't know that reference, if that's a reference.
Apocalypse Aegon.
That's what I thought. Thank you, Brian. And thank you guys. Welcome to the membership. We will be doing a member stream maybe this week, if not definitely next Thursday. And we will also have a guest if we're going to do because we missed Saturday. A lot of stuff was going on. So we're having our aluminum spork this Thursday, where I believe Yeti will be joining us. So the Yeti man will be joining us. It's first time in a long time he's been on the channel. I think he thought I hated him. I love Yeti. So
I kept telling him that you did.
Oh, good. I was wondering what fueled it. Let's see. King's Landing must play a key role in Game of Thrones. Yeah, they need to use all those. I don't know. I mean, it was wrecked. That's another thing with season 8. 1 minute it's destroyed, and then yet, the throne room's all right. And, Tyrion had his brother-sister radar on.
And then Jamie and Cersei dying from the throne room landing on him.
Yeah, well, Jamie and Cersei died from not stepping to the left or right about 2 feet.
Yeah.
Then
he's going up against a bear, and a brick kills him.
Yeah, he did. He jumped in with no weapon. Yeah. King Bran Stark looks set for a peaceful reign with the various wars ended, threats defeated, and Westeros in transition period where much of it needs rebuilding. But that's not how it's typically worked. Certainly not during Game of Thrones. Even with the Iron Throne destroyed, there would need to be some political story that revolved around the machinations of King's Landing and the rule of Bran, whether that's a major villain or some other turmoil for him to deal with. After all, a king simply living in peaceful, prosperous times wouldn't offer a great deal of narrative tension or conflict. And a good King's Landing story is the key to a good Game of Thrones story. I don't know who's quoting that.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Outside of season 1, it was the most boring part.
Yeah. I mean, in the books, it's intriguing. Until Littlefinger kind of leaves, and then with the whole Cersei thing, it's intriguing, but it's not exciting.
The weird thing is, people keep thinking that whoever sits on the throne is what it's about. It's not. It's just book 1 is called the Game of Thrones because that's the game of houses in a way,
right?
And the real plot is basically survive the end of the world in a way. But simply because the show was called The Game of Thrones, people think, it's all about the throne. No, it isn't. It hasn't. The books haven't been really about the throne for quite a while. It was book 1 and 2, really.
That's why I said outside of the first season, really. It's because that was what was important.
Yeah,
in the story.
This story is about. Yeah, I would say the books have more, with the Game of Thrones when you get later on with Aegon landing and stuff like that. But in the show, their King's Landing becomes kind of another destination. That's it.
Yeah.
What are the Lannisters up to?
It's not about who sits on the throne in the end, just because book 1 is called The Game of Thrones. A Game of Thrones is pretty much the game they play when they're plotting for power.
Right. Right. It's different factions,
it's
different families.
Yeah. It's just a reference to that. And that stuff, yes, it's still in the books, but it's more of a backstory now in because it kind of ends when Stark dies. Rob.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Uh,
Rob. Yeah, but well, you could think of
After
it
that, it's
as
quiet.
it's kind of, well, the story is like the secondary, right? You got mostly the idea of the White Walkers and the others coming south, but you still have people that aren't focused on that, focused on the game. So you have Cersei
Yeah.
doing all the dumb things she does, and Varys killing Kevin Lannister. Oh, I don't want to ruin it for listless. But like the things that happen, there is still a Game of Thrones, but it is definitely the secondary part of the book to the people overlooking the major threat.
Yeah, it's Varys basically after book 3 starts undermining the Lannisters,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually paid attention to that when I reread it. And Varys was linked to every misfortune that the Lannisters had through those books.
If you think about it, yeah. Varys Selmy?
No, no,
Varys.
it's
Varys. Because
yeah,
Varys didn't
Varys.
do enough.
Yeah, yeah, no, because they'll mention that it's Sir Dauntus.
Yeah.
Mentions that I think it was him that the spider
Yes.
pays good money and stuff, and I'm like, okay, that's a big hint right there.
Right.
Yep. And there's all
Yeah.
kinds of little things like that. And when Tywin is killed, Varys makes sure Jaime and company finds coins from Highgarden.
Right. And he's there to make sure
where the missing jailer, which was Varys,
was Varys,
supposedly lived. Yeah, so he's just leaving little, and all that leads to Cersei turning on Marjorie and and that stuff. So he's just undermining.
Yeah, he is. And you know what though? Because I misheard what you said, I'm just thinking back. Varys and Salmi for the Lannisters and Baratheons, even the Targaryens, his one big thing was rescuing the Mad King when he was trapped in Duskendale, I think, for like a year. He did that heroic thing, but after that, he's there for key like bad moments. The death of Rhaegar, the graping of the Queen from the Mad King, like all these different things. He wasn't the one who saved the day or did something spectacular to help them win. They always lost.
Yeah.
And I think he's making up
Good
for
man
it
on
now.
The losing side.
Yeah. And I think he's making up for it now where with Dany being gone and he's
he had that epic
war.
showdown in book 5 where he got to the traitor and had like a duel and shit.
Yeah. And he also, in the excerpts is rushing out the gates and attacking the trebuchets and stuff. Like, even if he goes out in this battle, which I don't think he will, it'll be something a little later. He definitely is making up for any mistakes he made in the past protecting a Targaryen. You know what I mean? Like he didn't protect Elia and her kids. He didn't do anything.
Plus, he will not get stabbed like a pimp in an alley because he actually killed the people who sent the pimps.
Even with all that shit that went down, he's still seen as one of the most honorable and noble knights.
Yes. Because he is a talented swordsman. He does honor his vow, but like, how do you swear your loyalty to the king and his family and not try to do something to stop it? Like, do you, don't you? I think the righteous thing for a knight in the white cloak is to protect the weak, even within the family. And I think that's what he's showing us.
All the shit that was labored towards him could be labored towards Jaime Lannister. So the difference is Selmy didn't kill the king.
Yeah.
Right. And Jaime did it all for the right reasons, because Selmy would have probably helped them burn the city, and Jaime did the right thing and is seen because Ned Stark, once again, instead of just being like, what happened here? He assumed And you know what happens when you assume. Um, you know, it completely changes Jamie's life, where he could have been the hero. He becomes the Kingslayer. And that's all because Ned Stark wouldn't even take a second to be like, what happened here?
Yeah,
Like,
you know,
no.
it's kind of fun when people bash Martin for the oh yeah, they're all gray psycho characters and blah blah, no good guys.
Mhm.
Yeah, look at Barristan Selmy,
Right.
you know.
One of the best, right?
Yeah, and Sam Tarley.
Sam Tarley, you could throw Ned in there. Ned is a
Yeah,
good man who has to,
yeah,
he regrets what he did to Lady, killing one of one of the direwolves. He
yeah.
knows he put his daughter in harm's way because he did that. Um, yeah,
I would even go as far as saying Oberon.
yeah. Oberyn Martell is doing everything for the love of his sister. So, I mean, unlike his brother, he definitely is not doing it like using his sister's death as a way to springboard. He truly wants revenge.
Well, and let's be fair, his brother's like, yeah, we're going to get revenge. Not today, though. But,
Look, in 30 years, this is going to work out.
It's like compound interest. If we just keep combining our hatefulness for the Lannisters, by the time in 30 years' time, it's just going to explode like a bomb.
Right. Ned's weird. And I love Zach says Bran has the best story. Of course. Let's read a little bit more of this and see what happens after the king simply peaceful, blah, blah, blah. So there might be some rebellion. Okay. Game of Thrones has almost always had a ruler whose morals and purpose were at least questionable. Cersei Lannister and Joffrey Baratheon are two of the show's greatest villains. King Tommen wasn't a bad Tommen too. Bad person, but was influenced and commanded by them. Tywin Lannister and the High Sparrow are notable examples. Robert Baratheon also wasn't a truly terrible person, but was a terrible king, and that allowed the conflict between the Starks and Lannisters, thus the War of the Five Kings, to ignite. So if Game of Thrones season 9 were to happen, could the same be true of Bran? One of the biggest theories from the end of season 8 is that Bran had long been plotting to become king. Yeah. Everyone says, why do you think I came all this way? Was that? I don't think Dan and Dave were even that thoughtful they just put that line in there. They didn't even think.
Plus, a character that's 11 years old technically would be planning to be king now.
Right. The implication is he allowed many terrible things to happen, clearing his path to the throne and putting a dark twist on the final moments. Now, if you tell me that he is not actually Bran Stark anymore, and he said that in the books, that's pretty bad because he will allow terrible things to happen, knowing he could warn people and he just lets it happen to get to the throne. That would be more interesting. That's just about plausible, because the Three-Eyed Raven's motivations have always been questionable and murky at best, although I don't entirely love how it reframes some events to have Bran be an instigator or key player. But even without a retcon, having the Three-Eyed Raven side of Bran increasingly corrupt him to a point where he is using his power for ill and needs to be stopped might now be the best story at HBO's disposal. No, the best story is
doesn't work in the show.
Right, it doesn't, because the best story would be that this is the Children of the Forest using this kid as a skin suit to exact retribution on the kingdom of men.
Except in the show they killed off all the children of the forest. They
oh yeah, that's right.
Said the ones in the caves were the last ones and they died.
That's right. So that's right.
Well done, Benioff and Weiss.
Keith says, I thought Tyrion just saying he had the best story was an odd scene though. Yeah, I mean, he is a prisoner and he is actually on trial when he's saying this. With, for some reason, Grey Worm overseeing it and all the lords and ladies of Westeros there, and all of a sudden he's able to turn his trial into, let's make Bran the king, not Jon Snow, who sacrificed the woman he loved and his family member to save the world after she threatened to liberate the world. No, they send him north, and he should feel lucky. Teresa, meh story. Robert was such a crap king. Whoo boy, yeah. And Zach says to Keith that entire season was one long odd scene after another. Yeah, it definitely was. This would be a narrative that demands the involvement of major characters, from Sansa Stark to Jon Snow, and putting the likes of Tyrion Lannister into a key position in King's Landing centric story too, where he's at his best, which he already is. He's on the council. It would be consistent with Game of Thrones history and add to the bittersweet feel of the ending, that even the king who was supposed to be different, to change Westeros entirely, is corrupted by power. That wheel wasn't truly broken. They don't even understand the character. I mean, even with, I don't know, even the Bran Stark they made king in the show, he is so, like, he has his whole being is outside of the realm of men. He's living past, present, future, all at the same time. So, like, I mean, he's definitely not a good king, but I don't think he would become corrupt, the one in the show. The books is a different story. Yeah, that's pretty dumb. Radical choices. Yeah, that was a great story. Thank you, James. Let's do what we do best and talk more about crazy stuff that this made us think about, like we just were doing. That season sucked. Now, I keep thinking we're getting the Winds of Winter. Maybe we'll hear an announcement by May next year, if we don't get it this year. Anybody with me on that? Anybody?
No.
I'm putting a poll up.
You know what I think is going to happen? He's going to release Winds of Winter, and then he's going to start doing Dunk and Egg stuff for the TV show.
Yes.
And then that's going to lead to us not getting book 7.
Well, he did say after the Winds of Winter, he would do the Dunk and Egg novella, and the next one, maybe the next two. Yeah. And then also he has to do the Blood and Fire Volume 2, which pretty much does itself. He just has to add some extra stuff to it. But
yeah, well, he's
how long is that going to take, man? Yeah.
Well, I think the Fire and Blood book 2 is actually done.
Right.
And
I agree.
Yeah, because the two people that write it, they don't have.
Isn't it Elia? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason it's not being released is because it'll spoil the whole damn thing in book 6. Particularly about a certain egg, who I firmly believe is Varys.
Right.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. The world won't end. But
yeah,
it fits, though, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, we've said it how many times. Varys' first introduction is just like how Egg looked in his first introduction. The shirt, the hat, the clothes.
Well, not just that. Head. The first sentence says he's bold as an egg.
Right. I do want to see, like, I want Dream of Spring more than I want the novellas, but I want the She-Wolves of Winterfell, or whatever the title will be.
Which wasn't even mentioned as the next two.
I thought it said it at the end of the book. They were headed to Winterfell.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean their stuff isn't going to happen before they get there. Because he did say the title of the next two Dunk and Egg stories that he was going to write, and it wasn't anything Winterfell.
I gotta look at that again.
That's true.
I
It
swear, I
was like
thought
the town fool or something, and then something else.
the town hero, and yeah.
Yeah.
but see, I don't remember him saying that in the book.
No, he doesn't say it in the book, but he said it on the blog. But that's the next.
Yeah,
book.
he did. Yes, you're right on that. He did say it on the blog. Give me 1 second. Keep talking.
Unless the Winterfell story has already been written.
Well, that's what the way that he said it. That's why I kept saying last week or the week before it was. I'm like, he said his next Duncan Egg book was this one, and then everybody was saying no, that can't be because it's the She-Wolf one. And then I said, but he said the next book that he's writing is that one, so it obviously means that he's got that one done. Which I think what happens is like what you're saying, Stick. I think he's doing a lot of callbacks and call forwards to the current book. But because he hasn't got that finished yet, he can't release any of that because it's going to spoil shit.
Yeah,
we're going to find out at the end of book 5 that there's actually a dragon in Winterfell, which is going to be shown in the Duncan Egg one. There will be dragon eggs down in when they go there for the she witches or whatever it is, or Winterfell. What do you think, Scotty?
Or there is a full-blown dragon below Winterfell.
Yeah. You know, I'm looking at, and maybe because I got this after I had the 3 novellas, and I don't know where they are now. But the one that puts all 3 together, which is A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, at the very end,
awesome.
It is, but at the very end, he has a part where the end of the beginning, and this is from George. More travels and more travails await our hedge knight and his squire in the years to come. From Dorne to the Wall, their journey will carry them across the length and breadth of the 7 kingdoms, and even beyond the narrow seas to the disputed lands and the shining cities of Essos. Along the way, they will cross paths with lords and knights and sorcerers and many a fair maid and noble lady to write their names into the annals of Westeros, never to be forgotten. But those are tales for another time. But see, that was him in 2015, and I'm trying to remember when the 3rd book came out. It was before that. I'm going to find what I was talking about. I'm going to find it.
Yeah, because that's just when they put it into one volume, and
I
mean, that hardcover though is worth it for the artwork alone.
Sorry, real quick, E Hacker in the house. Look at, we had Red Team Review drop in. We got my boy E Hacker in here. We're getting some notable people. Good to see you, buddy. Oh, and Zax, of course. Zax is here, guys. Scott, let me on. I got like 20 minutes. Yeah, you want to talk about it? I'm sure, dude. I'll throw you on here. You guys know E Hacker? He's a good dude.
Yeah, he was in the chat earlier.
Is it the guy that lives in Japan?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I've been on streams with him ages ago.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. Level-headed guy. I like him. And Zombie's here too. You've been here for a little bit. When are you coming on? All right, I sent it, man. So let's do that one more time because I wasn't really listening. What did you say? Scott, do you agree? What was that part exactly? Were you just talking about the Hedge Knight journey? Like Duncan Egg?
Well, me and Grant were saying that Martin has probably written the She-Wolves of Winterfell, and the ones after that are the ones he mentioned that he was going to do.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Yo.
How you been? Quickly introduce yourself to the chat so that everyone knows who you are.
All right, just making sure I shut it off on YouTube because I had an echo, I think.
It happens.
Yeah, my name is eHacker. I have a YouTube channel. It's decent. I'm from Japan. I've just been following Scott here. I don't know how long, man. 4 years? 5
Yeah.
years? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I actually followed you before I started my channel. So
yeah, just kind of follow each other, whatever. Yeah. And I just have similar interests. Game of Thrones. Used to be Star Wars and stuff like that, but we all know what happened. Don't really watch it anymore.
Oh, what happened?
well, I would say the Star Wars I knew no longer exists, so I don't watch what's available now.
And now Kathleen Kennedy's left.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. But so basically, you're keeping it with Game of Thrones. A lot of your content these days.
Half and half. It's like Game of Thrones, and then I'm going back to doing some more like MCU and stuff like that, but just talking about the movies and shows I like or dislike. And but I really like doing like the conspiracy theories, lost civilizations, UFOs, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, no, that stuff's great.
Yeah.
But you're talking about, I just jumped in, but like Winds of Winter, right? How it's like coming out or not. And
yeah.
How old is George R. R. Martin now?
70. Oh God.
Four?
Yeah, he's around 74 now and in perfect health. He looks like he's a day over 73.
And he had the guy Gaiman who was supposed to be co-writing and helping him, right?
Yeah.
So what happened with that?
Well, he does
George
have
ate him.
Yeah, maybe. He does have people helping him, but it's more like they help him to remember where his characters are, what they look like. If he puts a character here, can he reference them being there? No. So Elio and I forget her name. They're the ones that kind of do just fact checking for him. He doesn't really have anybody.
I know Elio. Yeah, he's like read all the books and knows like the details better than Martin or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he was creating a game back in the day where Martin gave him the okay, and it became like a database for everything, A Song of Ice and Fire. So this guy and the woman who I'm forgetting, they completely, utterly know everything.
Right, Elo's wife or something. His wife, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm putting your YouTube channel in the chat, guys.
Thank you. It's all
You're
good.
almost at 30K, so maybe we can help you get close.
100 subs away from 30K, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, guys, please show them that I have some people in here that if you haven't, please subscribe.
Yeah, no, it's appreciated. But yeah, Stig, what's up, by the way? Known of Stig, we had a few live streams with John Talks like years ago, man. So when you used to have the Ben Kenobi avatar, so yeah.
Oh, I usually use that still, but for this one I switched. But yeah, you had like 1,000 subs back then.
Yeah, I mean, well, my main content was like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and the channel pretty much blew up for a certain point. Got like 15 million views within like a year and a half, and just kind of shot up. But now it's kind of normalized again, So
hey, you got the Blake Lively stuff. Come on.
Yeah. Well, the problem is,
I was just gonna say
it. Well, like the problem is, and this is like for everybody, like you and all the smaller channels, is that everybody does the same thing. Like everybody we know does the same thing. And with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, not everyone was doing it when I was doing it for like the first 2 years for the UK case. But once Blake Lively came and Sean Diddy, everyone knows now. Jump on it. Everyone's waiting. So it was kind of like a phenomenon with Depp and Heard, and like
there was a couple channels that blew up. It was you and
Nerdette's Newsstand. Everyone knows from and she's like at 100K right now from it.
Amazing.
And, but I don't want to distract from like you're talking about.
No worries. Yeah.
So,
what do you think? Are we ever? So George has told us there's 2 more books. It's hard for me to believe he can finish it in 2 books, but he says there's 2 more.
Here's what I think. When you want to do something, you do it. Especially a creative thing, right? You wanted to make this channel, right? You did it. Your background looks great. You kept going with the live streams. You never quit. I did it. I never quit. I kept going. If you want to do something, you do it. And I guess he just whatever part of him just doesn't want to do it.
It blows my mind though. It's like he's been before, let's say 5-6 years ago, even he was touted as up there with Tolkien, but he's not finishing the story. And like my idea is, as a writer, how can you not finish your epic story that is making you compared to the grandfather of it all? Like I don't get it.
The main thing I could think of is he just. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I saw Terry Brooks, who is another big author, fantasy author, wrote the Shannara books and all that, which was turned into a shit show on TV.
On MTV,
But
the Sharonic Chronicles or whatever.
I read his biography book. I guess it's called "Sometimes the Magic Works." It's about writing and his career, and he's often asked, why do writers write? And he said the best explanation, and he has, and he's spoken to other fantasy authors and stuff. It's because they can't stop, right?
They're like
write
addicted,
fantasy
right?
books. Yeah, because they can't stop. They just, it's in them, and it has to go somewhere, right? So if George Martin's not working on the book, that means his priorities has shifted big time, because all the TV shows and stuff aside, as a writer, he should be writing because it's in its DNA. It's.
I think though, once you hit a certain point, you kind of change, right? Like, and he's joked in interviews, and I think there's some truth. He's like, they asked him, well, George, how do you feel about getting famous and, Game of Thrones? He's like, well, it's pretty nice. And don't forget the truckloads of money.
Right.
And he says this so much that I'm like, well, I get it. It's funny for to be blunt for a little bit, but he says it so much. I'm starting to think that he just got rich and was like, I made it. I got it. I got there. And that's it. And I got to think, if he said it once or twice, okay, fine. But he just kept saying, truckloads of money.
Well, think about his career.
He's above the retirement age as well. So maybe he just doesn't want to work anymore.
Well, think about his career. He wrote some sci-fi in the 70s that there was like a cult following of. He met the 80s and 90s in Hollywood doing episodic TV and stuff like that.
Twilight Zone.
And he finally got something that took off. And then when HBO came knocking, they never expected it to be what it is or what it was. And I think the acclaim, the attention, positive and negative, has affected how he writes. And I think he's caught in a couple of the storylines, and I think he allows everything else to affect him to the point where he's like, I made it. I don't need to do this. And it's sad to think that way, but I could see why. He spent 40 years busting his ass, and he finally is getting all the awards and everything he wanted.
But he's got so many resources. Why not have people help and write for him and sit there and dictate? He doesn't have to do it. He doesn't have to actually. He doesn't
even own a computer. I don't think he's set in his ways.
Yeah.
Why not just? I don't know.
He has an old MS-DOS computer.
That's crazy to me.
Right.
It's
this is what he claims. I guess.
He does. That's what he uses, and it is. He has a house across from his own home, which is like his office, and he uses the in between of a typewriter and a computer.
Can he use that plus another one he might also be using that doesn't tell us about? And he says he uses the DOS one because
backing it up,
he might have both. He does actually have the DOS one. That's true.
Yeah.
But things like that, when you say that kind of build character, it makes him seem unique. It's like, oh my God, this guy's the real deal. Right. So I don't totally trust that, just to be honest, man. It just doesn't make sense. He probably has that plus something else he also uses.
Well, you have a point, because he definitely plays on he always wears that type of hat. He has this persona he's trying. I'm old school.
People aren't stupid. Right. Same thing with Johnny Depp. He's got a public image, but then he's just Johnny hanging out, and a lot of fans can't separate it. They think he's some kind of demigod. He's not even human.
Yeah.
And especially not going to get into it, especially women who can't accept that Johnny's just a dude. They think Johnny thinks like Johnny Depp only. He thinks like a dude. He thinks like you and me and you and everyone else thinks like a dude, like women. That's just how it is,
They think he speaks about himself in third person.
Right. He's a true romantic. He was with Vanessa Paradis for a guy who's the top guy in the world, top 10 best looking guys, richest guys in the world. I don't think it was with one woman for 14 years. I just don't see it. I just don't think so.
So
it's not possible. It's not possible.
No, and every ex-girlfriend came out to defend him. But Zombie Box says, do you think that he lost the passion for storytelling? I don't know about storytelling, but I think he may have lost the passion for this story. Does that make sense? Like, because he still seems excited to write about Dunk and Egg. He still is doing things in the world. I mean, the world is him, like it has become his thing.
Here's a question.
I don't know.
With all the money he's made, right? Did you think maybe he has lost the motivation for hard work?
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't know if it's motivation for hard work, but I think it's that passion or drive that I have to prove myself. I think all the accolades and money, he's like, I have proven myself. I'm George R. R. Martin. I'm Germ.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was saying.
Yeah. And Bad Takes Bojan, who's a panelist here, who's amazing. Guys, make sure you check out her channel that I don't think has a video yet, but she plans. Her husband, Good Takes Bojan,
she has your bad take that you did about
that's right.
Blue Beetle making 100 million.
Blue Beetle. I still think it should have. Good Takes Bojan thinks he's actually connecting to a modern PC, but uses the refurbished old monitor and keyboard. That does make sense. Like it's set up to look like this old one, but it's actually saved down to a server in his basement or something. Zombie also wants to let you know Amber pooping.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, it's not worth it.
Sorry. He also keeps saying that he can only work from home.
Right.
Because it's a thing. He can't sit and write on a plane or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever he's out doing interviews and all that stuff, he's away from home, which means not writing.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, most people can't, though. Most people concentrate best at home anyway. So if you play the odds on things he says, like, is that so unique?
Yeah,
I can't run a plane or a train or of course
but
not.
it makes a good point. Like he is never home anymore.
Right. It's also character building. It also makes him a unique character. And when you think someone's unique, you think their writing is more unique because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That is also a point to that. What I find interesting is if 2020, 2021, where he was locked down in mostly just in his homes, if he couldn't finish it then, I'm wondering if he's even working on it. We've been told he's had like 750 manuscript pages for the last, Stig, 6 years?
No. He had 500 left over after book 5,
right?
Which he might have gotten rid of those and rewritten them or whatever. I don't know, but I did the math on this stream at one point because he had been saying, "I've written a couple of more hundred," and then it did it again a year later,
right?
And my estimate was pretty accurate when he did that blog saying how much he had written. So, but by the looks of it, I think he said book 6 was going to be 1,500 to 1,700 pages, and he was close to 1,500 pages when he made that post. So he's not far off. He can't be, even if he's just written 1 page per day.
Right. I mean, most people back in 2022, when he was on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, December 2022, he said 1,100 or 1,200 pages done. So he only had 400 to 500 more. Yeah. Because you can't do more than, I think it's like the max is they consider is 15. That was what? That's going on 3 years ago.
Unless it's 2 books of 750.
Or he's just writing straight through. A lot of people are believing that too.
Well, he kind of is, because every time he's released a book, barring the first one, he has basically had to chop off the story and say, okay, this is the end of the book. But he had way more. So he's definitely
that type of writer.
Yeah. Well, and that's why he had 500 pages left over from book 5.
Because I think some of his best writing was some of the excerpts that we got, the sample chapters. Like the Forsaken is amazing. But he has also referenced years later, going to around 2022, that he's going back over those and rewriting parts or completely restarting, which I can't even see why you would with the Forsaken. That if you go back to Nerdrotic, Gary has Gary reading Forsaken chapter somewhere in his videography. Check that out because it is brilliant and the writing is just so visual. I mean,
well, him rewriting though, it doesn't mean he's rewriting a lot,
right?
You know, because there's degrees, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You could just change a little bit in one, rewrite another. I don't know. It's hard. Brian's been trying to get me to talk about the books and lore of Warhammer 40K. I don't know if you responded to me on Instagram. I was wondering where I should start. So, because I've never gotten into it, but listless receptionist said, I just don't want the next book to be like season 8 of the show. Yeah, I'd rather not get it if it's going to be like that. I can't imagine him ever putting his name to something. Yeah. Can't be. Now, how much of a fan are you, E-Hacker? Are you like somebody who watched the show? Did you read? I think we talked.
Yeah, I read the books.
You read the books, yes.
Yeah. So
okay.
But I saw the show. I saw the first season, and I was like, "Oh, this is so damn good! I got to read the books." Then I read the books ahead.
Okay.
So then I was kind of watching as someone who, at first, I was watching as like I thought this was just like medieval Sopranos, some bloody show, not maybe not brain dead, but just kind of fighting in action. Who knows?
Right.
But then when I watched, I was like, "Oh shit, this is actually really good. This is great plot. Let me read the books."
Yep.
Read the books. Kind of bittersweet because I would have been nice to like save the red wedding for the show and stuff like that. But it
was fun watching people who didn't read the books.
Yeah,
and you knew what was coming. That was always fun.
Yeah, but to answer the question, I read the books. So
yeah, I thought you did. I was the type. I read the first 2 books before the first season came out, and then I finished the rest before season 2. I think it's one of the only book series I think I've ever kept up with. It brought me in.
I actually not a huge reader, but I just couldn't. I never found myself not being able to put a book down like that. That was it was just written so well, and I mean the big comparisons to Lord of the Rings, and I've been a Lord of the Rings fan since I was like a teenager. It's like over 30 years now, and I love it. It's like part of me. It's like religion to me. But there's definitely elements that R.R. Martin writes better as far as detail and just putting you in the shoes of the characters. I think it's undeniable that he could write that better than Tolkien. Tolkien's overall, I mean, I would say it's better just overall, but I mean, there's definitely things Martin does better. I don't really think it's up to debate.
I think Martin's just how do I say this? The way his description, he goes so into what they're wearing, eye color, because it's important in his story. But I also feel like you get, except for like Aragon and Frodo maybe, and a couple of his character arcs, I find them more interesting than I did reading Tolkien. But Tolkien was the first fantasy series. My uncle gave it to me, I think, when I was 12. And I loved it. My daughter just read The Hobbit.
Tolkien's more of like a grand scheme in life, morals and things like that.
Right.
George R. Martin's more of like a more intricate character study and like human nature type thing. So
yeah.
But
if you want the perfect middle ground between the two, the Wheel of Time books.
I've heard of that. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Tolkien's
it actually has more lore than Tolkien.
See, I found that, and you told me that today. I didn't even know that. Grant, what were you going to say?
So Tolkien's like there's absolute good and there's absolute evil in the world.
Right.
And George is just like no one's good and no one's evil.
Right. Well, and I find George,
and Wheel of Time is women ruined everything. So
men did. Women ruined
it was their
worse. what I find interesting is George himself has said, like, when he read Tolkien, he thought, what would Aragon's, public, political ideas be? What would he do for sewage? What would he do?
Right.
And that's what he kind of went grittier on. He went into the actual political side of it and not the overall good versus evil.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest difference, I think. I did do real quick.
Well,
someone could talk. Yeah. No, go ahead,
well,
Stig. I'm just ending
in
the
fantasy, right? Yeah, well, in fantasy, right? It's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because the Tolkien fans will attack you. If you do a
True.
Tolkien-ish story, you get accused of copying Tolkien. If you don't do it, oh, you're not as good as Tolkien, because Tolkien wrote it this way.
They're very cerebral people, though, too.
Yeah,
what do you do then?
They had to go with George Lucas back in the day, and then Rowling, and then Robert Jordan, and now it's George Martin. So it's like, yeah, we get it. None of them are Tolkien, but you'll attack them anyway if they try to copy him, right?
Right. And that's a perfect way of putting it, Stig. The idea that anybody can be better than and these are usually they have college courses on Tolkien. So like these are people that when they really they know the literary side, but the lore side too, they're people that defend it. I won't say viciously, but fervently. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but they're very
good enough. Whatever. I know what you mean, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Viciously. Yeah, viciously is good. I mean, they do some of them. So yeah, good enough word.
They do. Real quick, the poll we had: are we getting the Winds of Winter? 40% said no. 30% said, "Oh, Sporking, it's never happening," and it's Winds of Winter by December 2026. But Sporking, it's never happening. Yes, 20%. We will get it, but not by 2026. 10%.
Yeah, I'm just worried about his age, man. I mean, he's
that's
at this point,
It's everyday thing. I mean, and that's why you get the feeling that he either went one way or the other. He said, screw it, I've made my money, I've gotten the fame, the awards, or he went the other route. I am going to quietly finish this, and then after I pass, boom, it's out. Please,
right.
Give the books, please. I don't know. But,
what did you think of House of Dragon?
I got sucked into season 1 because of the King Viserys role by Patty. He was unbelievable in it. He made the character better than what it was in the book.
Right.
But he was much skinnier too.
Yeah, he was. But they also, they tried to pigeonhole the Prince That Was Promised dagger thing in.
Right.
And by season 2, they've gone off course a bit. And then the whole blood and cheese thing where they didn't have an heir and a spare. They only had the twin daughter and boy that they killed the son, changed the whole thing. And what I've told most people is, this is my biggest complaint. It seemed like they had writers for every even number episode and different writers for every odd number because characters went back on any arc they had between every episode. It was like 2 different characters. I don't know. And they wasted Damon. Wasted him.
Right.
What did you think?
Well, I mean, I kind of look at things through a different lens of expectations these days. So I'm kind of just watching it for like the battles and who ends up killing who and who beats who with the argument. So I just kind of enjoyed it. But I don't read the book, so I don't really have any expectations, and
respect that.
I mean, I like that they kind of kept it straightforward. They didn't go like with the message crazy. You see some things here and there, but it seemed like pretty based to me, which is the main thing I look out for.
Until the last episode, though.
Yeah.
Until the last episode where, so real quick, in the books, both, the queen, Alicent, and the princess or queen, Targaryen, Rain. I always screw up because there's Rhaenys,
Yeah, right.
Rhaeg, whatever.
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra, thank you,
You're
brother.
all right.
So at the very end, she sells out her son's life to save the rest of her kids. Oh, later, Stig. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. It's really late where he is too. But she sells out her kids, and then Rhaenyra says, "You're going to be remembered as, this awful blah blah." And she's like, "The history, the historians will see me as what they want." So they, in a way, they're blaming the men who wrote the history that made her sound evil, not
She tried
what
to
her
cut out a
actions.
child's eye.
Say it again.
She tried to cut out a child's eye.
That too, and it's just the biggest thing is if you don't have the heir and the spare, it changes the whole story. So
Right.
Aemon, in season 2, you could tell he wants to take his brother's crown. He's abusive to him. He's abusive to his sister, his mother. In the books, he's the one that actually protects his brother's crown. His brother is injured. Yeah, he's injured in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
refused
wanted to be known as the protector of the realm. That's all he
Right.
wanted to do.
Okay.
He would not.
Okay. I guess they thought it just made better TV and clickbait and whatever you want to say. If he was this trying to take the crown, just more interesting and combative. I guess that's what they were thinking.
This is the problem. At the beginning, I think it was Connolly, the head writer or the head producer of the show. We were told you heard one side and the other sides, but this is the truth. And it's like, what? This is the truth. This is not the truth. You left out people. You turn other people into oh, okay, we have what's his name, the Lord Commander, Grant, the one that's sleeping with Rhaenyra, and then he sleeps with
Cole the cock.
Yeah, Cole. In the books.
Oh, right.
You don't know why he really switches. There's rumors, but you think he's trying to be an honorable man and do the right thing. In the show, it's like, I want to love you, and she's like, I'm not leaving. We have a good thing here, and he's like, I'm going to totally turn on you. It's I don't know, but I'm going to watch season 2 because I
gotta go. I gotta have lunch and get back to work. So I just want to
hacker, my man, guys. Make sure you subscribe to his channel so he gets to 30K. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I'm getting close to 30K, so timing's pretty good.
I've been working too many weekends, so it's hard for me to catch your live streams, but I miss them.
It's all good. Whenever
What time are they on?
I don't do a lot these days, but if I do, it'll be usually Saturday mornings on your time.
Yeah, it's usually 9 a.m. around there, guys.
Something like that. Yeah, stop by whenever.
Yeah, you too, brother.
Have a good one. MGG, thank you so much for the live stream. You guys have a good one.
You too, brother.
Buddy.
Thank you.
Take care and be well.
Good guy, man. Real good guy. Yeah, guys, please, if you are not subscribed to him, I'll put it again in here. He's one of the good ones. You get what you get with him.
These guys. So what are you trying to say? Wow.
Well, what? Oh, shoot. I just totally put in something wrong. My daughter came up when he was on screen and she's like, what are you doing, Dad, on stream with that man? I'm like, what? This is my 10-year-old, almost 11. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, he's a hacker. I was like, that's just his name. It's entertainment hacker kind of thing, e-hacker. But she was like, he's a hacker. I don't know. I found it really funny.
Oh yeah, me too.
There we go. Awesome one hooked us up. E-Hackers YouTube channel. We could totally round this puppy up. Any last thoughts or any last ideas? Because I know we can go for hours. So let me know.
No, I think it was a good stream overall. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We're not getting season 9.
Condell. Thank you, Teresa. Yeah. No way we're getting even a movie. Though as of December 2024, there was Jon Snow's back on. Now it's off again. So I don't know. None of them. I mean, he doesn't have the MCU anymore. They're not bringing him back. I can't see Kit Harington playing oh God, whatever role he was. Yeah, anyone in the MCU. I think they're totally writing him out. So he has time. And if it was good, like I said, I would find it Lady Stoneheart, or someone finds the will, and now there's just some slipping into, Sansa's mind that he's going to try to take it from her. So she attempts to kill him or something, and he now has to defend his new family and blah, 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 blah. I think it could be good.
Yeah, I can see it, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, no. What about you, Stig? Anything to leave off on?
I'll just say, he's dead, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, everybody. Stig, thanks for staying up and hanging out with us. It's been a while, and every time you're on, it's interesting conversation. So thank you.
I've been prioritizing sleeping at normal schedules.
Mm-hmm.
So
makes sense. Are you on anybody's streams coming up? Are you on Jade's?
In the beginning of March, I'll be on with. Yeah, I'll be on with Maura the first week of March for our top 10 1997 movies. So,
ooh,
but that's
what's a good one? Give me one good one in 97, because I can't think right now.
Men in Black?
I mean, that was a great
one.
Was that 97?
Oh, Mortal Kombat, Annihilation, the worst movie on the planet, came out that year. 1997.
Yeah, and we're also doing our favorites, not necessarily the best.
Right.
So Mortal Kombat Annihilation might actually be on.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. All right, guys, make sure you follow Stig on Twitter so you know, or X, excuse me, so you know where he's going to be. Mr. Grant Gregory, any interviews or anything coming up?
Nothing at the moment, but I'll keep you informed when I do.
I'm available. Well, guys, make sure you're subscribed to the Mr. 500,000 subs over here, Mr. Grant Gregory. Thank you to eHacker. Thank you, Brian, for the gift of 5 Sporking News podcast memberships. And I'm going to throw it out there again because I'm a fan. Red Team Review stopped in just to throw a couple opinions in the chat. And I think that's awesome. Thank you for stopping in and even joining us in our conversation. To Zach's, Brian, awesome one, Teresa, listless receptionist, to Tina, Waldo. I think I saw Matt Barr. I know Katina was there. I said Zach's. There's quite a few other people. All the new Sporking new members, like what was it again? Apocalypsagon, American Patriots Pad, Richard Spake, U.S. Dutch Kitty, Darren, like my father before me. I hope your health is well, my friend. And Pope Metallicus the First. If you want to know metal, that's the guy to speak to. And everybody else that was here, thank you so much. I hope you all have a good night. And where are you going to find the best, Song of Ice and Fire news and info?
Where's the best place for content on the world of Ice and Fire?
Right over there. See where I am pointing with my dagger? I just found
Sporking News Podcast with me,